Loyalty is not rewarded, it is priced. The moment an organization believes you are unlikely to leave, your market value stops growing, not because your skill declined, but because competition disappeared. From that point on, your pay is no longer set by what the market would bid, it is set by what the organization believes it can retain you for. That is the loyalty lie. Loyalty creates emotional security, it creates trust, it creates identity. It does not create upward pressure on price. In labor markets, price moves only when alternatives are credible. When alternatives disappear, so does negotiation power. This video explains why loyalty feels virtuous but functions economically as a ceiling, and why the longer you stay without testing the market, the more your career is priced for containment, not competition. In any market, price is set by competition. Remove competition and price stops moving. Labor is no different. When multiple firms want the same capability, wages rise. When only one firm believes it already owns that capability, wages stall. Consider a simple, real scenario. Two professionals, same role, same performance, same output, same industry, same city. One stays, one leaves. The one who stays receives an internal increase, 3%, 5%, tied to budget, capped by band, approved by a manager whose incentive is cost control, not market clearing. The one who leaves re-enters the market. Recruiters benchmark them against current demand. Hiring managers price the role against scarcity. Competing firms bid to secure the same output. The result is not incremental, it is a reset, 10%, 15%, 20%. Not because the person who left became more skilled in that moment, but because their skill was subjected to an auction. Inside the organization, there is no auction. There is a retention calculation. That is the entire mechanism. Loyalty moves you from an auction into a containment model, from price discovery into cost minimization. Externally, your labor is a scarce resource to be acquired. Internally, it is a known cost to be controlled. This is why a lateral external move often produces a larger increase than a vertical internal promotion. Not because organizations are irrational, but because markets and budgets obey different laws, and loyalty transfers you from one to the other. Here is the part most people do not want to accept. The better you perform inside a system, the more that system benefits from keeping you cheap. High output with low mobility is the optimal outcome for an employer, not high output with high bargaining power, not high output with constant repricing, high output with stability, because stability allows surplus extraction. Surplus is the gap between what your work is worth in the market and what you are actually paid. That gap is profit. The more institutional knowledge you carry, the more disruption your exit would cause, the more economically irrational it is for the organization to reprice you aggressively. Not because you are less valuable, but because your value is now locked in place. From the firm's perspective, the perfect employee is trusted, integrated, and unlikely to leave. That combination maximizes output while minimizing wage volatility, which means the very traits you are taught to cultivate are the traits that cap your future earnings. Reliability reduces urgency, familiarity reduces perceived risk, and without competitive pressure, prices do not move. This creates the central contradiction. The system rewards you for becoming indispensable and then uses that indispensability to suppress your price. Because once your departure feels unlikely, the organization stops pricing you against the market and starts pricing you against its tolerance for disruption. And tolerance is always cheaper than replacement. Your contribution is growing, your dependence is growing, your bargaining power is shrinking. That is the trap. And then the more the system needs you, the less it needs to compete for you. This is for professionals who are already delivering, not entry level, not still proving baseline competence. It is for those whose work is relied on, whose absence would be felt, whose responsibilities have grown faster than their compensation. People who have become operationally important without being economically repriced, who are trusted, embedded, unlikely to leave, and therefore no longer competed for. If your role has stabilized, but your income has stalled, this is for you. The core problem is not that loyalty is ignored. It is that loyalty is mispriced. In labor markets, pay is set by outside options, not by tenure. Once your likelihood of leaving drops, your price stops being discovered. Internally, your salary is anchored to bands and budgets. Externally, it is anchored to demand and scarcity. Those two systems produce very different numbers. Across OECD countries, external job movers earn on average 10 to 20% higher wage growth than internal stayers over the same period. In Australia specifically, workers who change employers see a median pay increase more than double that of workers who stay. This is not about performance, it is about pricing regime. Loyalty moves you from market valuation to internal cost control, from competition to containment. And once your pay is governed by retention budgets instead of market bids, growth becomes capped by design. Leverage in the labor market comes from one thing only: credible alternatives. Alternatives that are real and costly to ignore. Consider two professionals with the same role, same output, same seniority. One has been in the same firm for 6 years. They are trusted, they are embedded, their career history exists almost entirely inside one organization. The other has the same tenure, but has remained externally legible. They have spoken with recruiters every year. They have interviewed periodically, even when not intending to leave. Their name, skill set, and salary band are actively circulating in hiring pipelines. When compensation is reviewed, the difference is not skill, it is threat. For the first person, the internal question is, how much do we need to increase to maintain satisfaction? For the second, the internal question is, what will it cost us if they are acquired by a competitor? That second question is anchored to active recruiter feedback, competing offers in the market, the possibility that a competitor gains their capability. It is set by the highest credible external bid. That is what creates repricing, because the organization can now see in concrete terms what the market is prepared to pay to take them. The external threat is not an attitude. It is a visible auction. And in any pricing system, once an auction exists, containment is no longer possible. The uncomfortable reality is this: across advanced economies, base wages are growing at 3 to 4% per year, even when inflation and productivity pressures persist. In Australia, annual wage growth has held near 3.4% despite tight labor markets. But this figure hides a deeper fracture. Most wage growth happens through external job moves, not internal tenure increases. Job switching often produces 10 to 30% salary jumps, significantly outpacing internal raises. Internal wage growth, the raises you receive for staying loyal, rarely exceeds the annual average, around 3 to 4%, even when your output, scope, and responsibility increase. That means someone in your same role could be earning 10 to 30% more today simply because they moved firms, not worked harder, not proven more, but been priced by competition instead of containment. Loyalty and tenure do not trigger repricing. They anchor you to internal bands that rise slowly, if at all. From a pricing perspective, staying long produces stability. Leaving introduces competition. Only competition forces higher bids. And that is the uncomfortable truth. The behavior most valued by organizations, loyalty, is also the behavior that suppresses your own compensation trajectory. Understanding the loyalty lie leads to one operational conclusion. The largest non-incremental pay increases come from external moves, not internal tenure. Multiple studies and labor market analyses show that in several data sets, workers who switch jobs enjoy wage gains noticeably larger, often multiple percentage points, than internal wage growth alone when benchmarking against those who stay. Surveys of Australian workers show that many employees expect approximately 20% or more pay increases as the threshold that would justify changing jobs rather than staying with their current employer. This happens for a reason. Internal promotions and raises are capped by budgets and pay bands. External offers are priced by competition. When a firm makes an offer, they are responding to scarcity of capability, immediate demand for output, market supply dynamics. That creates a bid-driven pricing process, not a budget-driven process. Competition resets your price, not ambition, not hard work, competition. And the only practical way to trigger that competition is through an external move. This video was not about motivation, it was about pricing. It showed why loyalty creates emotional security but erodes economic leverage, why tenure stabilizes identity but suppresses competition, why the system does not punish loyalty but quietly neutralizes it. In the next video, we move from diagnosis to action. Not vague advice, not career slogans, concrete economic strategy. How the labor market actually reprices skill. Why external moves reset value when internal moves cannot. How to position yourself so competition is forced to bid. How to turn competence back into leverage.